Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm going to continue my North Korean campaign, or South and North Korean campaign, I should say. In this mission, I'd like to attack the Nachodka airbase, basically to perform the OCA strike against this airfield. I was so far I was unsuccessful during the first trial. Basically, there was active SA-10. Then I was going to destroy this SA-10 in a seed mission. Unfortunately, the SA-10 seems to be inactive during that mission. And now I'm going for the OCA strike again, just to hit the runway. And hopefully, if the SA-10 will be active, I can use also my harm missile against it. So hopefully this will be okay, and I will destroy both, like the runway and also the SA-10 in the target area. I'm going to take off without the afterburner, just because I need to save as much fuel as possible.
Shark 3-1, Boson, power, position, runway 20 right, incoming traffic.
Position, but let's ask her again.
Shark 3-1, Boson, power, position, runway 20 right, incoming traffic.
Okay. So I can enter the runway, but there is incoming traffic, so let's be quickly there.
Shark 3-1, Boson, power, you are cleared for takeoff. Runway 20 right, incoming traffic, depart heading 245.
She didn't tell about the expedite departure, so probably there is still enough space between me and the departing aircraft, so that's okay. Depart heading is 245. Okay, there is already landing traffic somewhere, but I can't see anything yet.
Altitude, 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 altitude. Shark 3-1, Boson, departure, resume on navigation.
Shark 3-1, copy, resuming on navigation. So, for this mission, I'm flying with only two fuel tanks. One is under my right wing, probably. No, it's under the left wing.
Runway 20 right.
Then I'm carrying like 6 Durandals and 1 harm for the SA-10 if necessary. So that's my loadout for this mission. And also I'm carrying 4 AMRAAMs as usual, the outer pylons.
Runway 20 right. Depart heading 245.
Couple of bombers on my left. I can see them on RWR. So just ask it the AVAX, and it seems there is no AVAX. Okay, no AVAX currently. Which is very interesting, very weird. But I'm somewhere in the middle of the South Korea. I don't expect the Tu-95s being here, although it's like very interesting, these bees on my left.
Shark 3-2, Boson, departure, resume on navigation.
They might be either friendly B-52s or enemy Tu-95s. If these are Tu-95s, I expect that this Patriot, which is on this airfield, will be already shooting at them. Okay, let's prepare for the flight. Hopefully they are not enemies. So that was the Durandal. AMRAAMs are ready, and ARM is ready as well. Let's set up the fuel warning first, so let me switch to this wing first. As you can see, there is only one needle showing only one fuel tank, and I'm using the fuel from the wings first. Maybe let's set up the bingo for 9,100. That should be it. I'm not carrying that much fuel as usually, but usually I was able to reach home base without any problems, so hopefully I will be able to land today as well. And there are like multiple airfields during my way, so I can use some other airfield if necessary. Okay, master arm on. Very interesting, this AVAX, which is missing here. So that's my loadout, a very like not symmetric loadout, so I'm carrying one fuel tank under my wing, 6 Durandas, 1 Harm, and 4 Amrams C4 variants. So very, very unusual payload. Let's use the time compression. Hopefully there won't be any enemy aircrafts whatsoever. Slowly level up, 22,000 feet. Okay, Tomcat is engaging Su-27, so there are some Russian fighters still operating in this area, so I have to be careful with that.
Shark 3-2, rejoin formation. Shark 3-2, on my way.
Okay, I'm running out of fuel very quickly. Let me check that. It was quite fast, which means that I didn't set up the bingo fuel correctly. I'm still having enough fuel in the external fuel tank under my wing. I'm going to set up the bingo for 7,000 now. Okay. I expect that I should be able to reach the target, or at least IP point, with my just this left underwing fuel tank being used. Okay, 170, 160 miles to the IP point. There will be still one SA-5 active, just because this radar of the SA-5, this bar lock, was hidden inside the building. And as you can see, there is this SA-5 circle already visible. So I'm approaching the target area. Okay, probably my external fuel tank is empty. No, not yet. So let's reset the bingo for 6,000. Just to remind me that I should check the fuel. I'm gonna fly to the steer point 3, and there is something flying just over the airfield in 30,000 feet. I'm pretty sure that for such range, like 70, 69 miles away, this must be a quite big target. So definitely not an Su-27. Must be probably it's the IL-76 or Tu-95, which are also like operated from this airfield. Okay, let's reduce the altitude. I don't want to hang that high while the SA-5 is active. As I said, this SA-5 cannot be destroyed just because the barlock radar, the targeting radar, is hidden inside the building. So it happens sometimes when you are creating a mission that if you put a SAM system into a town or factory, whatever, it automatically gives some of the assets of this SAM system inside the building. So not very good, I know, but it is what it is. Let's reduce the altitude quite drastically. There is active SA-5, just fire it at me. Let me check the trajectory of the missile. I don't see. Okay, there it is. It's still going for me, so I need to be really careful. Maybe let's take some evasive action already. I'm not carrying any jammer, so any EZM. So I should really get down below just before the missile hits me, so I will be lost from the radar. Okay, I should be safe now. So as you see, I break the lock just couple of feet above the sea. It was quite close for comfort, if you ask me. Again, I don't like it. Let's turn towards the steer point 3, so I'm closing to the airfield. I can't basically increase the... Wait a moment, I'm just watching if there is some smoke trail, nothing here, so let's just continue towards the steer point. I'm really afraid that they will soon switch on the SA-10, which is definitely the bigger problem than this SA-5. I should be already inside the circle, but unfortunately I'm very low, which means that my harm won't be able to hit that SA-10 radar, which is, by the way, the nickname is the flap lid. So let me fly a little bit lower. I just want to disappear also from this SA-10 for quite a while. But I can imagine that they will switch it on as soon as I'm on the steer point 4, definitely. Okay, let's fly in 300 feet. Systems are ready. Okay, the fuel tank is running low on fuel.
Be advised, hostile launch activity detected. Bullseye 050, 100 miles.
Oh, there is the AVAX finally.
Sentry 1, Shark 3-1. Request vector to threat. Shark 3, Sentry 1. Nothing's up right now.
As you can see, my fuel consumption is really high now, so that's not the ideal. I don't have time to turn around the airfield too long. I just need to fly there and fly away as soon as possible. And still in low altitude just to avoid being hit by the SA-5. even when I will be flying away from the Nachodka. So my current fuel consumption is 9,200, which is way too much currently. It's really worrying me a little bit.
Altitude, 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 altitude.
Okay, almost 28 miles to the steer point 4. Then let's say 25 miles from the steer point 4 to the steer point 6 or to the Nachodka. And then I can maybe slowly climb. If the SA-10 will be destroyed, I can climb. If not, I have to stay low. Luckily for me, we've been able to destroy the search radar on the airfield, so you can see that there is no search radar in this position when the Nachodka is, which means that sometimes it happened then that if there is like active search radar and active I don't know SA5, SA6, whatever on the airfield, and you lock your harm, it goes for the search radar, not for the SAM system. So luckily for me, the search radar is already being destroyed from the previous flight, so I can freely lock anything what will appear on that airfield, and it will be like for 100% the SA-10. It seems that my underwing fuel tank is empty already. I'm going to drop it now. Okay. Let's switch to the external center and switch to the normal transport. You can see that there is still some lower amount of the fuel inside the centerline fuel tank. So I slightly reduced my drag, which means that I should be able to fly faster now. So maybe let's reduce the thrust a little bit, just to save some fuel. I'm still flying like 0.8 Mach, which is quite fast. Okay, slowly approaching the steer point number 4, so I'll be turning left to the IP point and then to the target steer point. Still the SA-10 is not active. I do remember that they switched it on when I was over this coast here. So when I crossed the coastline, they switched on the SA-10, so I expect to happen the same. I'm quite low, so definitely they just wanted me to fly closer. Okay, let's switch to the steer point number 5. Mambo number 5. And I'm going to reduce the altitude. So apologize for that altitude warning, but I need to fly lower. I just don't want to be locked by this SA-10. Okay, like so. there is a small hill in front of me, so need to climb a little bit over it, over the top. As you can see, these textures on the ground, there is this sea, for example. Okay, let's switch to the 15 so I can see the SA-10 like, and SA-10 is active.
Altitude.
Magnum.
Chaff flare.
Let's fly away. SA-10 is active. Probably there is also a missile in the air, so I'd like to fly away. It sounded like something hit behind me. Oh, I was so lucky. I was so lucky. And seems like the harm hit that SA-10, so let's fly back. No, it didn't. It didn't.
Shark 3, Sentry 1, be advised, hostile aircraft bearings 295.
And there is Su-27 10 miles away. SA-10 still active.
Shark 3-2, attack target at bearing 310, 15 miles. Shark 3-2, unable. 2, Wilco. 1, Pitbull.
Altitude.
I'm playing stupid games with this Su-27.
1, Ox 3, close.
I've lost him. Okay, there is a splash. So he's going down. Luckily for me, there is SA-10. Just launch it.
Shark 3-2, request permission to engage.
Chaff flare. Altitude.
I was hit.
Altitude.
So, I wonder when this harm hit. Still unable to see it. Let's end up the mission. I'm gonna quickly jump into the number 2. Hopefully it will be still in this location alive. So I'm going to jump into it. And I hope that he's still carrying the harm under his wings. So let's jump into it. But there might be already another SAM in the air, so it will be. Oh, he's that high. He is that high. I don't know why he's in that altitude. There is active SA-5, and he is like in 11,000 feet.
Altitude. Pull up. Altitude.
Okay, I think we dodged this SA-5.
Altitude.
Let's quickly set up all the weapons. I'm gonna fly there with active SA-10, which is again on. So probably the missile is already in the air. Let's turn in that direction.
Altitude.
Magnum.
I'm not going to fly there directly. I need to hide behind some hill. Unlucky for me, there is no much hills in this location. Okay, let's watch the harm.
Altitude. Altitude.
It's going for
Altitude.
something.
Altitude.
Let's level up.
Altitude. Altitude.
Okay, no missile launch whatsoever from this area yet. And hopefully this harm is okay. No, it's not. It's going for... I don't know. I don't even see the radar. Oh, there is the radar. Okay, so it's like 200 meters away from the radar. Okay, let's fly over this city here. Hopefully I'll be able to hit that airfield.
Altitude. Altitude.
But I really doubt.
Altitude.
Like,
Altitude. Altitude.
probably I will lose also this aircraft.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
Seems like it's not that easy to destroy this SA-10 system.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
Okay, now I will fly over the hill and I'm dead basically.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
And there is the missile. I can see the missile.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
I'm flying as low as possible.
Altitude. Altitude.
And that missile still hit me. Okay. Okay, I need to go for definitely a seed strike with 2 harms here and try to simulate the attack on the airfield so they will switch on the SA-10. Like, one SA-5 is destroyed, so I can fly here more easily. But still, this SA-10 is like very challenging. Definitely, it's a threat for me, so I'm gonna plan another attack. I don't see the first flight, but there was 1 kill of the Su-27. I don't see it here because it's just this short mission from the second aircraft. So I'm going to select the seed strike against Nachodka once again. And there is the SA. Finally, there is SA-10 visible here. So after the first mission, it wasn't visible. And there is this flablet, so the radar of the SA-10. I don't know how to bait them to switch on the radar much earlier, just because they are protected by this SA-5. They are not switching the radar that early. They are waiting until you are very close, and then it's basically too late for you. So, first Air Defense Battalion. Okay, let's select some. Let's create some package. Maybe I'd like to use some. Let's wait a moment. I'm gonna save it here. I'm gonna find some nearby airfield which is closer, just to save some fuel. Okay, just F5, KC, F-16s, no F-16s, F-16, okay, 155 or 100. Oh, there is plenty of the. So 155th or 161th. let's go with this 155th. Let's create a mission seat. So at package 155th, 2 aircrafts, seat strike against 1st Air Defense Battalion. No aircraft available, so let's cancel these flights here. Okay. Let's repeat the creation process. Seat strike, 2 aircrafts, 155th, 1st Air Defense Battalion. Okay, 2 aircrafts given to me.
120 miles, 30,000.
Okay, that's quite nice flight. I'll be taking on from the Hong Wong. Let's select some munition. Okay, I'm carrying 2 harms and 4 AMRAAMs. That's really great. Maybe I'm gonna fly like this with the EZM pod. So I'm not going to use the centerline fuel tank. I'm closer now than I was flying before, and I'm gonna use the EZM pod rather than the centerline fuel tank. So let's save the progress here. I'll be flying this mission in my next video, so wish me more luck like like before. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching. As always, have fun, take care, and bye.